What's up, everybody? Welcome to the call. It's good to see all your smiling faces here. Thank you for showing up. Oh, I better show my smiling face. Hey, welcome, everybody. Wade, good to see you, my friend. How are you? Welcome to the call. Michael's here. Julie's here. Tyler's here. Welcome, Tyler. Long time no talk, my friend. Brent's here. Micah's here. All right, we got a good strong start to this week's call. We always have people joining us kind of as we go. So we are streaming live on YouTube right now. So whether you're joining us in the Zoom call and want to participate and ask questions while we're going through this amazing topic today, or if you're joining us live on YouTube and you're just watching, welcome. Thank you for being here. We're going to be diving into the topic of seller financed acquisitions today. Maylee and I actually have a seller finance deal that we're working on together. And so we're gonna kind of tell you a little bit about it. And then we decided that we wanted to show you how to put a seller financed offer together. So we're gonna do that on the call today. You guys can ask your questions. We'd love to get some feedback from you. Kind of, have a little bit of a think tank going on. So I'm glad you guys are here today. This is going to be a really good call. Now, in the meantime, until we're going to get started here in a second. I want to share just a couple of announcements that we have. So, as I mentioned, we stream this live from YouTube. That means that the recordings are available immediately. So, if you're with us live on the Zoom call or if you're watching this live on YouTube, and you see some stuff that you're like, wait a second, what did he say? I didn't have my notes. I wanted to write that down. Don't fret because it is available for you immediately to go back and rewatch. All you have to do is go to our YouTube channel, Flipping with Mitch and Maylee, click on the live tab, and then access the video that you're looking for, and you can fast forward, rewind. It'll be there forever. So you guys can check that out. And then also, if you missed last week's meeting, or if you wanted to rewatch last week's meeting, or any of the meetings that we've had on Wednesday nights, those are all there. We're just kind of building up a repository, a library of really good information for you guys on our YouTube channel. So check that out. Now, we do have live meetings every single week. In fact, in some cases, we have multiple live meetings all over the country. So Maylee and I happen to be here in Utah in the Salt Lake City area. But if you guys are, I know we have students and investors that are joining us from around the United States. If you'd like to know where our live meetings are, reach out to us. I'd be happy to share that with you. Now, here in the Salt Lake City area, Maylee and I are hosting meetings on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. in Murray, Utah, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. in Sandy, Utah, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. in Sandy, Utah. That's every Tuesday twice at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. and then every Thursday. These are always different topics, so even if you wanted to attend all of them, you're always going to learn something new, and it's awesome stuff. So we have a big national conference coming up for real estate investors from around the country where we're all going to be getting together. And it is right here in mine and Maylee's backyard in little Podunk, Layton, Utah. So if you'd like to join us, reach out to me, let me know. That is going to be an amazing event. It's a 2-day event. The first day is going to be an all-day training with a banquet that goes into the wee hours of the morning. So you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure you're there. It's March 30th and 31st in Layton, Utah. So with that said, guys, today we are going to be diving into seller finance transactions. We're actually going to be writing an offer on a seller finance transaction today, so you are in the right spot. Now, this particular offer that we are, that Maylee and I are working on, this one is in Ely, Nevada. So from where we are in Layton, Utah, that's what, Maylee, about a 7-hour drive?
It's actually only 5 hours from
5 hours? Okay. Yeah, way better.
here. Yeah, not that
But we're gonna dive in. I'm gonna let Maylee tell you a little bit about the property. This was actually brought to us by one of our students, Eric Haymore. It's his brother that's selling a triplex out in Ely and is offering seller financing on it. So we're going to be putting that together. We have an equity partner coming in to bring some of the cash to the table. We are still looking for a little bit more cash, but we'll get that together. Right now, we just want to get the deal under contract. So we're going to be focused on writing that offer today. So Maylee, why don't you take the spotlight, my love, and let's go through where this property is and what it is, and then we'll dive into writing that offer.
yo. Okay, so let's get to it. I also also have a new program that I can't wait to show you guys. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to not only show you this deal and then run through the numbers through Deal Check, but then also be able to write up the offer on this Zoom call. And then from there, I would like to show you I'm just going to show you a little sneak peek. I'm going to show you. Here's a sneak peek. Here it is. Look at all of these beautiful leads. I just can't even. I know. Okay, go away. So I have access to so many leads all of a sudden, and I have to show you why and how I can keep track of these. I have their phone number, I have their property, I have what it's worth, what they're asking for it. These are all active properties. So whether they're FSBOs, this one, so any of the green ones that you see, which were most of this, so this is the FRBO, is anyone or anywhere in Salt Lake County and Weber County and Davis County. Those are the three counties that I chose that have a rental that is vacant currently. So what do you think I'm going to do with the vacant rentals when I'm calling and smiling and dialing? What do you think I'm going to do there? Drum roll, someone's going to answer.
Ask about the rental, I guess.
What?
Ask about the rental,
Okay, what do you think I'm going to ask about the rental?
what they're asking for in price and availability, I guess.
So, and you're not wrong. That's exactly. But don't you think that there is such, if they have a property and it's vacant, and maybe it's been vacant for 2, 3, 4 months, don't you think they would be a fantastic lead? So if you bypass a property and you see for rent sign, you should be calling all of the for rent signs when you're driving around town, because that is just, I mean, those people most likely are, they're managing their own properties. And people who manage their own properties are frustrated, especially if they have a vacancy. So this is when we capture these leads, because they acquired a rental for a reason, which is cash flow, right? They understood that enough to go, oh, I need to acquire a rental so that I have cash flow. What they didn't understand, because they're not educated, right, is that they're managing their own properties. So they're frustrated. If it's a personal phone number, which all of them that I have on this list are actual personal people, that means they're managing their own property. 1, maybe it would be fine. 2, 3, it's like, right, it starts to get so frustrated. They're not happy. So if I can give them cash flow and offer them cash flow on the phone, right, to take over their problem, because I'm going to create a property management company solution, right? Then all of a sudden I just created a win-win for everybody. Keep your mortgage, keep whatever you have in place, right? But I'm going to offer you cash flow every single month to take over the existing whatever else you got for a seller finance deal. And then we have to also cash flow. But don't you think that's right? Look at all those leads. Were you not so happy? Oh, I was so happy when I saw those leads. And I'll show you where I got them, and I'll give you a link, and I'll do all those fun things. Hopefully by the end of this call, if we don't get it today, then make sure you come around for next week, because that is what we will be focusing on mainly next week, is the Vortex and what Vortex looks like. We got, FSBOs, which is for sale by owners. We've got expireds. We got geo leads. We got all sorts of leads that we can track. And it's a CRM that really allows us to go in progress, contacted, callback, appointment set, listed, sold, right? Whatever algorithm we need to create, it's got this. But I have 220 leads, and that's just today. Those are all the leads that I got. So that's exciting. Let's see the chat. Everyone nailed it. Yeah, okay. Yes, optioning. That's exactly right. So thank you, Bruce. That's exactly what we'll be doing when we're smiling and down. Okay, back to this Ely property that we had talked to you about. So we do not have this property under contract yet, so don't go snaking us here. This is our property. We are writing the contract. We trust you enough that we are going to be writing the contract tonight on this property. It's a unique scenario. So we're going to run the numbers, verify as a team that you think that it will cash flow. We're going to verify how we run the numbers so that we know that it cash flows. Hopefully that's helpful to everyone. And then, just understand what we already know about the property. So these are the things that I already know. Let me pull up my notes so you can see everything that I know. Let's see here. So these are the things that I know, and probably best if I pull up a note. Let's see if it'll allow me to do that on the same screen. It might. So I know that he's wanting on this property $250,000. Is that more or less than what we probably think it's worth?
More.
It could be worth more, right? That it might be exactly that, or it could be a scenario where they're asking for $20,000 more. Now, Zillow, unfortunately, doesn't know how to run comps very well, right? Because it doesn't know that it's a triplex. And so it's trying to go off of just how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and it doesn't know how much it's been updated and all those jobs. So I did find out that information from the seller. So things that they want, they need $80,000 down to buy out the contract in which they have currently. That's their equity, is $80,000. So that's what they want to get rid of this property and for us to take over a seller finance. So let me back up. So the way this property worked, or how this deal worked out, is they originally wanted a different strategy. But as we got, we started calling them and talking to them, they're like, oh, well, actually, we don't want, if we're going to do this, we don't want to be it anymore. It's like, okay, actually, this makes it easier for us. Step aside, right? We'll handle it from here. So in order to get that, cash them out and what they want, this is not a distressed homeowner. So that's kind of nice, though. They're not going to trash the property. They're not going to, right? It's just a traditional, like the homes that we're going to be calling on. They have a rental. They don't want to deal with it anymore, because all three of the properties that are currently leased out their lease is expiring next month. So this guy's going, I don't want to deal with it, right? He's already trying to fill it as tenants. He's already trying to deal with all of it, and he's bombarded, and he doesn't want to deal with it because he is managing it himself, and he lives like 7 hours away. So you can imagine it's too much for him. So with that being said, we get to come in, and it's only $80,000 that they need for us to cash them out, and then take over the seller finance contract that he currently already has. We can do a 10-year balloon. So Mitch, make sure we're looking at that when we're doing writing the offer. I'm making or letting or hoping, right? Mitch is going to be writing the offer tonight. This is why it is super nice to have one person that's an actual licensed real estate agent and one person that's not. And partly that's because as a real estate agent licensed in Utah, it's illegal actually for me to be writing a contract in Nevada since I'm not licensed there. So great news. Mitch is not licensed anything. And so he's going to be writing the contract tonight. So we're all verify he's doing a good job. I'm just kidding. He taught me how to do the reps. He's going to do great. Okay, so rents. We know currently right now it's being rented out, all 3 units for $650, one's for $750, and one's for $800. So hopefully you're taking some notes. And then one of them has a pet, and so they charge an extra $200 a month. So total cash flow coming into the property, not cash flow, just rent coming in, I should say, is $2,400. So those are the things that we do know about this property. The other thing that I ask, these are questions that, if you are about to do Smile and Dial and you're about to, figure out if you can make an offer on a property, these are some things that you need to know. First thing you need to know is it a conforming triplex? Okay, right? Is it a conforming triplex? The answer for him was actually no, but it has 3 addresses. So what does that tell me? That it doesn't matter, right? If the city is willing and able to give 3 actual physical addresses to this triplex, that means it's a small enough town and it has 3 separate meters. So even though it's not been approved as multifamily as far as zoning goes, they are treating it like a multifamily. We should be fine. Obviously, I need to do a little bit more due diligence, just checking in on the city. But if they're already doing those things, the chances are very high that they just don't care how it's zoned, right? Like they're not going to care. And it is just a cute little podunk town. Let's see here. I'll show you this cute little guy again. See, it's just this little guy. It's just cute. Let's just see if they have an actual view of the city. Probably no, but we'll do a zoom on that one here in a minute. But yeah, so back to these questions. Oh, that's not the lead. Why am I on that? Sorry, guys. Okay, here you go. So originally we thought it was 50,000 that they needed. It's actually 80 now, so that did change. 5 to 10 years. We're gonna offer them 10, just because why don't go out the gate strong, right, on this? And we don't even know. We might be able to get even more out of this, is the truth. As we negotiate, we might be able to change that balloon, depending on what the current owner has on it. Let's see here. We found out, and I was taking chicken scratch notes, so forgive me. I was just typing while he was talking really quick. But we do know that as the landlord, we will be responsible for paying the garbage and for the sewer. And so that is included inside of the rent. And so we need to subtract that from the 2,400. So it's $88 a month that we need to actually subtract from this amount. So let's actually do that real quick. Let's see here, 88 times 3. Oh, how do I do that? 88 times 3. Okay, I could do math. Let's see here. So subtract 264. And that is for sewer. That's all right. And it was actually not, it was like garbage. Well, how do I want to write that? Just actually put water. Because it was like multiple sewer. It wasn't sewer though, because that was a different entity. But anyway, we'll just call it water. So we do know that that would be more realistic of a price of what we'd be cash flowing. Let's see here, every month, pick up garbage. So they're responsible for garbage pickup. He said that he would rather, like he's currently paying for that, but that's something we could negotiate. They're at 4.25, which means we would be able to take that 4.25 interest rate over. So Mitch, on the contract, that's what we will be using is the 4.25, since we're actually taking over the existing seller finance contract, essentially. It was year built was 15, and I know that. So if you scroll down on this guy, he said it was built in 1970s, but when I went down and looked through Zillow, I actually went, just kidding, it was not built in 1970s, it was built in 1950 or 15, and it was updated in 1970. So it's an old dwelling. But that makes sense. This whole town, I found out, I do have some family that lives kind of close to Ely and in Tonopah, Nevada, randomly enough. And they were saying that it's a really cool mountain town, and that it's been around it's just one of the oldest towns in Nevada. And I was like, oh, interesting. I don't know much about that. Okay, and then let's see, updated properly. So I asked what has been updated, right? And he told us that the water main had, I can't spell, obviously. Main broke, and he paid $2,800 to fix it. What are some things that they needed to be fixed? And he said he didn't know of anything right now. So it was nothing on the top of his mind. And then I said, can we get a copy of the leases? He said, yes, that's not a big deal. He said it was built in 1970, but it wasn't. Windows are okay. Might want to change out a few. The roof is 6 years old, has been remodeled. Oh, so unit 3, that's what this was. Unit 3, oops. Unit 3 had been remodeled last year. So when he purchased this property, he's only had it for 2 years. So it was part of the deal when he purchased this home and turned it into, or took it over as a lease or triplex. He said that he was responsible to obviously update unit number 3. And so it looks really good as information. That was all I needed. Okay. So any questions on, I can keep this note handy, Mitch, if you need me to, probably not. So I'm going to close out of it because you also have it. Any questions on maybe something that you would have asked, maybe something that you're like, well, we don't know a ton about this area. What do you think? So what do you think? So currently our monthly payment is $800. Oh, that's the one thing you didn't know. So at 4.5% interest, I'll put that back on there, but at 4.5% interest, our payment would be like $800 a month. And then we're bringing in 2,400 minus 280 and minus property management, right? So we didn't subtract property management out of that either. Let's see here.
Do we have an idea of the square footage of the home or the units?
Yeah, so I actually don't know. I do know right here is the only thing that I have, and he did kind of briefly. He even said, I don't know what each unit is. That's what he said, and this is what he knows. Well-maintained Victorian-style home converted into a 3-unit apartment building located in quiet Central Ely. Unit 1 is a studio with 1 bedroom and a separate kitchen. Unit 2 is an upstairs 2-bedroom with 1 bath. Unit 3 is a 1-bedroom, 1 bath. All 3 units include a refrigerator, cook stove, washer, and dryer. Separate electric meters. Owner pays sewer, water, and garbage. AC window units are of the property of the tenants, so there is no AC in the home. All 3 units are currently leased. They are, but they go up. The leases are up next week or next month. It says no pets, but one of them does have a pet. So there you go. That is all we know about it. He didn't even know how it was broken up. So that was a little frustrating, only because when you go to relist these, right? But that's part of our due diligence process. So we, for sure, run right at the contract here in just a second. The next thing we're going to do once it's accepted is I'm going to make some phone calls and get an inspection done on this property. Being that it's old, right? We need to know what we're marrying here. So he did tell us the roof was in pretty, it's only 5 years old, roughly. That's good, but people lie and or don't know the truth, so they make stuff up all the time. So that's something that I found, is that you can't rely on information from homeowners because they honestly have no idea. And he's only owned the property for 2 years. So whoever he bought the property from, he's also relying on their information. So having a good inspection is going to change everything for us. There are some big mature trees, so I'm sure doing like a sewer scope would be great, but the main was just replaced and the sewer line. So yes, Nicholas.
Well, good evening, Maylee. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Sorry I jumped on a little late, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
To learn a little bit more about this property. So, you mentioned that the rents or the leases are up in a month or so or this year.
Yep.
What are you guys seeing in terms of upside or increasing? Is there room there, given it's Ely, or what are you guys looking at there? Are you looking at raising them, and what kind of room do you think there is on it?
Yeah, so I did reach out to a property management company today. So that's, the next step is just really getting them to agree to take on this property. A reason why I have to verify that it's legally zoned as a triplex, or one of the reasons why you would normally do that, is because most property management companies will not manage a non-conforming duplex or triplex, or they won't. It's like illegal for them to do so they will not do it. But in this case, because it's a small town and that's just kind of how they all are, they did let me know, at least this specific company, that they don't have any rules around that, and they were fine because it's all separate meters and different addresses, so they felt very comfortable doing that. So that's good. And then as far as rents go, because that's their job, right, is to kind of tell me where they're at. They haven't given me an update. All they have now is these pictures. So I just sent them the Zillow because that's all I have, right? I did see the last time, pulled up the old, did I? No, I'm not able to because I'm not Nevada MLS. It wasn't this property. But so that's all I have, right? And so really we need an inspector to go out there and the property management company to go out there and to take a look. And what I was hoping for the property management company, exactly probably what you're thinking is, wow, okay, so if we updated maybe a few appliances, if we, maybe gave them a little bit better looking bathroom, could we raise the rents? If the answer is still no, just because of supply and demand, or maybe all the properties just look the way they do and you're not going to get any more for rent just because it is what it is, then why would we put any more into the property? Let's just rent it out and cash flow, right? But I mean, if you looked at the cash flow on this right this second as it sits, let's see, 2,400 minus 260, so that's 2,180. Or 2140, and then we subtract 10% of that, so 2140 times, I guess I could have just done that easy, but another 214, right? So I mean, we're roughly cash flowing like $1,900 a month. Yes, we probably put some reserves away, of course, for incidentals and things, but for a rental to only have to put $80,000 in, this is actually really good. And partly it's because we're leveraging that 2.2 or 4.25% interest rate. That is, if our monthly payment's only $800, like that's totally a game changer. For me, this is a no-brainer unless there's some big things that come up during the inspection, or if they don't think that they could rent it out for these rates for whatever reason, if the market's changed or something like that. But I'm excited. It looks like a really good deal to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. Any others here? I don't see any more. All right, Mitchie.
Do you want to walk us through Deal Check?
Ooh, yeah,
and our
sure.
deal analysis software and how we plug it in there?
Yeah.
That's
okay.
quite educational.
Oh, for sure. All right. So here is this guy in Deal Check.
I'm posting a link, by the way, to Deal Check in the chat. So I'll post that both on the YouTube chat and on the Zoom chat. We love Deal Check because it basically runs our numbers for us. We just plug a little bit of information in. So check it out. Deal Check is amazing. Click the link.
And you definitely will want to enter in your own data to kind of set it up, right? So we are educated investors. We know that like some of the stuff, like if you're using their fix and flip platform, so if you go over to, let's go over to, like if you're on fix and flips, right? And you click on it, if you're going to a traditional fix and flip, it'll say import property data or enter in manually. I personally always do manual, and that's just simply because their numbers are not what we use as an investor today. So if we can do a different training today, we're not going to do a training on fix and flips, but rental wise, like that's super important. These are all properties that we're looking at doing or we're currently have under contract. But let's just look at this one. So it'll do, right, it runs the needs analysis and it runs the pro forma for us. So when you are done with this entire thing, you can actually just print your pro forma and then have that ready for your investors if you're looking to raise capital as like a joint venture or what have you. That's pretty cool. This is wrong. When I entered the property data before, that's all they wanted. So they do want 250,000. After repair value, as it sits now, I was only going off of Zillow, as you saw. That's what Zillow said. It was 227. I don't think that's accurate based on that it is a triplex. There is a lot of value in that it is a converted triplex. I don't think that that's accurate. Does it actually matter to us, as we talk about all the time on this call? Not at all, because if we're holding on this for 15, 20, hopefully 50 years, does it matter that it's only worth 230 and we're buying it for 250? No, even if that was true, it doesn't matter at all, because by the time we're done with this, it'll be 100% paid off, and it's going to be worth $500,000. And I actually did talk to, this is interesting. So I talked to my sister last night just to kind of get a little bit more information on Ely, because I'm not, I've been through Ely once. That's about it. And she was like, no, it's so they just created a whole new mine there, and there's a lot of need for like land development, like for actual building there. So there's a solar and a mine there, and they're giving an allowance of $200 a night. So even if we wanted to convert this over to like Airbnb, like that would be cool, or something, right? If that's something we wanted to do, because they are like, they're giving an allowance of $200 a night to anyone that stays there. It's 7 days on and 7 days off, 7 days on and 7 days off. So people are they're coming from Vegas, St. George. There's some people from Salt Lake City, I guess. Like, people are coming in because they're getting paid very well to be there for 7 days. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. As it sits on financing, I just left that because 20% down, that is what they want. Actually, it's not 20% down. They want more than that now, right? Let's see, my brain's not working tonight. Somebody tell me what that percentage is. If it's 200, they want 250,000, and I'm putting $80,000 down. What's the percentage? Divided by 80.
32%.
Yep, 32%.
32%.
There we go. I'm so glad somebody else knows how to do math on here. So you don't have to know how to do math to make a lot of money, guys. No. So that's what we'll be putting down. Let's see if that changes everything. Interest rate 4.45. I wrote down 2.5. Is that what you wrote down, Mitch? Is 2.5
so.
or 4.5? 4.5 or 2.5?
I believe it's 2.5, but we can
Yeah,
verify. We can verify with the seller, and the way I'm going to write the contract, it isn't going to matter. So we can update our
Okay.
our deal check.
Okay. Mortgage insurance, no, because she doesn't actually. So here's the thing. This lady that we're taking, the guy that we're buying out, he's in a seller finance contract. She's paid this house off a long time ago. So this is a legit seller finance. This isn't a wraparound. This isn't an all-inclusive. This is not a subject to. This is actually a straight up just seller finance still across the board. She is going to be the new bank, and she's the only bank. So it is kind of cool that we can kind of really manipulate the terms and come up with something that makes sense to all of us. So anyway, now also because of it, we don't have to pay for like closing costs and loans, and so really it's zero purchase cost. Like, we don't have to come to the table with closing costs, which makes a big difference there. And rehab costs, I did put $20,000 for rehab. I just left it like that. Usually that's kind of what we step into, and knowing that it's going to take about $20,000 to do replace. If we're doing all new tenants, right here, all of them are about to move out. Usually we justify $20,000 to say new carpet, new paint, maybe new toilets, kind of a thing. Clean stuff up just to kind of raise rents a little bit. And then we leave a 10% overturn, gross rents. Let's see here. What's that? Well, that's right. 650, 750. Is that right? Let me just verify that I put all this information in. 650, 750, 8 plus 200. Actually, it's 800. It's actually 1,000 because she has a pet. Forgot about the pet. Okay, there we go. So that's accurate. Anything else we're missing? Let's see here. Yes. Okay, operations 3, 2, 2, 6. If we were going to do that, that would be accurate, period. Okay, so that is kind of the worksheet. If I kind of close this out, or just look.
Question, Maylee.
Mhm.
On that 800, you said they have a pet, and then you bumped it to 1,000. They're paying 200 a month for a pet.
They are. That's what he said, though. I haven't seen the contract, so I asked to see it. Like I said, so as soon as we go under contract, I'm gonna need those.
Wow, that's a lot for
So
a pet.
it's I did get more information on that. It's $50 per pet, and they have 4. They have 3 cats and a dog.
Ooh.
Okay.
So there you go. Do you feel like, I mean, Dave, you've been doing rentals for a really long time. Do you feel like $50 a pet is too much?
Not if they're paying it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if they're willing to pay it and they're already paying it, then go for it. Yeah, I can't remember what our management company's charging, but it's probably $25 to $30, I would think. And then there's pretty big pet deposit.
Okay, yeah, cool. So that's nice. You know, I'm always hesitant to let pets into a property just because of how much, you know, if they're gonna sign like a 2-year lease, I feel like that's worth it. But if they're only signing a 1-year lease, knowing that you have to do new carpet, new paint, new, you know, and really we'd probably put LVP in just so it lasts a little bit longer anyway this time around. We've been converting all of our rentals every year over to LVP. Yeah, Dave's going, yep. And that's just because it's more costly up front, but what you get out of them it stretches it out significantly. So, anyway,
let the pets ruin their throw rugs instead. And
Yeah.
then they can take them with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Any other, you know, cap rate wise, that's pretty cool. Any other questions that y'all have about how this works?
I was just looking at maybe I did the math wrong, but I was just figuring if you were netting $1,500 a month,
Yep.
netting that, that cash on cash return on that 80,000 is 22.5% a year, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's dope.
Yeah. Which I don't know. Did you see what I'm doing wrong on here? Usually it shows me that on this side. Mitch, do you see the button that I'm... I usually do it on my
Might be under
phone.
the property
So-
analysis. I as well use deal check.
Yeah, if you go down to reports, it'll kind of give you more.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Then you can just hit view.
Where?
You can hit view there on the report in the middle of the screen. Lower.
Oh.
Lower. Up, higher.
Where?
Right.
This?
Down. Right there.
Got it. I was like, where did it go?
Oh, it pop-up block. So hit property analysis to the left. Directly left of that button. Yeah, right there. There you go.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, cash on cash is about 24.3 is what it's calculating. And we do have to kind of tighten up these numbers a little bit. So this is a little loosey-goosey just because we're actually going to structure this deal a little bit backwards. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we go through the contract here. But the approach we're taking is kind of bass-ackwards from how you would normally take it. Normally, you get your numbers square in here, you write your contract. The way that we're going to offer this is basically what he owes on his seller financing plus $80,000. And that's it. Any fees, anything, any costs that are associated with closing or anything like that need to come out of that 80 grand. So we're going to kind of backdoor the way we're making our offer. So we will actually come in and adjust our deal check based on how those numbers come back.
And it shows that cash needed is $102,000, where, you know, maybe we don't need to put $20,000 into the property, right? Depending on the inspection and what comes back.
So guys, if you want to check out Deal Check, if you haven't already been using it, it's actually a really incredible software. It'll actually run comps for you. It'll figure ARVs for you. Obviously, you can see it does a lot of calculations for you by just inputting just a handful of fields. And if you would, it actually will help support what we're doing here. If you use the link that I put in the chat, that's our affiliate link. Deal Check won't charge you any extra, but they will give us a little kickback for sharing it with you guys. And it helps support, what we do on Wednesday nights and our YouTube channel. And using that link, I think you get, it's either 7 days or 14 days free. So you can kind of try it out by using that link. You can try it out for 1 to 2 weeks. And decide if you like it, and if you don't, just cancel it.
And I got to say, their comps are usually dead on, especially if you don't have access to an MLS like I do. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I've compared them, and they're good.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, Maylee, after one thing I would adjust here, and then we'll kind of move on to just for the sake of time, we'll move on to the offer.
Okay.
I would change the repair costs. So I was a little off after my initial conversation. It doesn't sound like it really needs any repair immediately, but he does want $80,000 down. So I was thinking like 50 and 30, but it's just 80 and 0. So your rehab cost total, right there, I would just change that to 0 for now.
Okay.
Obviously, during due diligence, we'll be able to sharpen that pencil a little bit, but we're wrapping up the quick analysis phase and jumping into the offer phase here.
Yeah. Okay. So the 32% is 80,000. So we're good there. Mitch?
What's that?
You good? I said the purchase price the price down payment is 32%, which is 80,000. So we're good. Just leave it like that.
Yeah. So if you click on where it says 32%, where you've input that. If you click on the little percentage sign, I believe. Let's see. Enter the. Huh.
Yeah.
I know there's a way to make that just a static down payment rather than a percentage, but we can figure that out. Just for the sake of time, let's move on. I mean, this gives a good rundown of what Deal Check is and how we analyze the properties. Again, This one's a little bass backwards. Usually we would get it more solid than this in Deal Check, but the way we're approaching this, there's a couple of unknowns that we need to unveil in due diligence. So as we go through the Deal Spotter system, we're generating a lead, which we've done. We're doing our quick analysis, which is just rough numbers, which is basically what we've done here. Then we're moving into our offer phase, which we're doing tonight. Once our offer is accepted, then we'll move into due diligence. That's when we'll really tighten up our numbers and make sure that this for sure is something that we want to do. And then once we're done with due diligence, we make the decision. If we move forward, obviously we put the money together, we put the package together, and we close on it. But at any point during that process, we're gonna make sure that we have an out. So you'll see that as we go through the contract phase.
Cool. Well, why don't you show us the rep sheet? Let's do this.
All righty, let's do it. I'm gonna take over your screen share mode here. So give me a second to. Whoops. Okay. And I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, remember, close out the right-hand side pop-ups. You haven't already.
Where is... Here it is. Okay. I got too many windows open. That's my problem.
We both.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen here?
You see the drive. Yep.
Alrighty. So we're going to open the REPC. We're going to open the seller finance addendum. And we're going to open the addendum, just a standard addendum. Now here's what I've done. So Maylee and I live in Utah. Maylee is a licensed agent in Utah. And the Utah REPC basically just applies in Utah. So I really love the language of the Utah Repsy, and I want to be able to use that language. So really, all I did here was I took the PDF and I copied and pasted it into just a Google Doc, right? So, and then took the blanks and just replaced them with what we need to fill in. So, Maylee, I'm going to have you kind of help me as we go through this, and have you just kind of sound off some of the things here. But this way, I'm able to use the Utah Repsy language that I'm familiar with in Nevada by simply doing this. Find and replace Utah, replace with Nevada. I know this sounds really like overly simplistic, right? But oops. But that's how we're going to do it. So I've now replaced all of the mentions of Utah with Nevada, which is awesome. So let's come in here and let's start replacing some of these tags. So today is the 8th of March, right?
Yep.
2023.
Hey, Mitch, can you blow that up a little bit on your screen?
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely. Thank you for the feedback. Let's go fit. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Much better.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we all were like, huh?
Yeah. Bring out the magnifying glass, right?
Where's my binos?
Okay, so his name is Craig Haymore. It's my Haymore. Okay. Oh, nope. Sorry, that's the seller, not the buyer. Silly me. Craig Haymore. And this is, I'm just going to put my name for now, and I can transfer that into an entity later. So we're just going to do Mitch A. Nelson. Earnest money.
$500.
Guess what we're going to put here? $100.
$500.
Huh?
$100?
What'd you say, Maylee?
I said 500, but yeah, that works.
Yeah, we can do 500, but we can also do 100. So I'm going to leave it at 100. See if he says anything. The nice thing is this is kind of a inside the family kind of deal, so earnest money's not going to matter as much.
Sure.
Okay, so street address. Maylee, do you want to read that off to me?
215 Ely Avenue in Ely, Nevada.
Do we know what county?
It doesn't say, but I can go find out. Let's see here.
Google.
Google, that's right.
Here's what we do.
Google
What county is Ely, Nevada in?
It's
White
Pine. Yeah, White Pine County.
White
I
Pine
just
County.
asked Siri.
There you
Oh,
go.
nice.
We live in a wonderful time.
I know, right? And then the
State
zip
of
code.
Nevada.
And
Zip
the
code?
89301.
301. And Maylee, what's the tax ID? Do you know?
So let's see if it'll tell us. It should on this MLS back thing, but Zillow's funky in other states, so it's not really giving us a ton of information on Zillow. I can go to the tax history, but I don't see. Is he real estate professional? Yes, I am.
So while
actually.
Maylee's looking that up, let me know when you have it.
Okay.
So the following are presently owned and in place on the property. We will say he mentioned that he bought the garbage cans, so I want those. All appliances. What else, Maylee? What do you usually see in inclusions?
Yeah, so all appliances. I would want any yard supplies just because we're going to be maintaining, and he's probably got a lawnmower in there. He's probably got a bunch of stuff to maintain a property.
Okay.
And he did exclude the window AC units, so those aren't a part of it. So that would be a part of exclusions, just because each renter owns those. But yeah, everything else will be pretty self-explanatory.
You said
Washer and dryers in each unit. I would add those in.
For included or excluded?
Included. Because he included them on the Zillow listing, so that means he purchased it originally with it as well.
Okay, excluded items. You said AC units?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Purchase price. Okay, here's where we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna fill out an offer probably in a way that you guys have never seen before. So let's talk through this. So our earnest money deposit is gonna be $100. Additional earnest money will be $0. Seller financing will be so this will be $79,900. Current loan balance plus $80,000. Anybody ever filled out a Repsy that way before?
No.
Did you know you can? It's pretty awesome, right? Any comments or questions on that?
Up in that paragraph above, you want to put an asterisk by the bottom thing, current balance. So up there in 2.1, it says purchase price. Yeah, right there.
Okay, so let's just take this guy and copy paste. I don't know why they make you do it twice anyway. That seems silly to me. Current loan balance. Okay. This is not. Submission date. This will change for all of it. So let's make that 3/8/2023. And that should change all of my footers based on how I had this formatted, which is nice. Okay. So page 2. And notice I'm kind of skimming through. I'm familiar with all this language because it is the Utah Repsy that I kind of took this from. So I'm just going to what I have highlighted in blue here, which is the variable information. So this is when I'm going to take possession. I'm going to say upon recording. Okay, if there's anything that I do or say here that you guys have questions or comments about, feel free to chime in. But we're getting pretty creative on the way that we're writing up this offer. But you know what? It's all legal as long as it makes sense and the title company can make it happen. If they have questions or if they need clarification, the title company will come back and make us do an addendum. So I'm not terribly worried as long as it's enough for him to understand and that we can have a contract to kind of build off of.
Do you need to say deed upon recording of deed, or is that okay just leaving it like that? Yeah.
I would say the more specific, the better, right? So good call. Okay, special assessments shall be paid for by seller. Okay. What is it? Okay. HOA.
No.
Seller. Remember that my terms here are I'm bringing $80,000. That's all I'm bringing. All other fees and everything need to come out of that 80,000, and that's how I'm negotiating it. So, but I'm going to be very clear with him. I have 80 grand. That's all I am bringing to the table. I'll assume the loan, and whatever the loan plus the 80 grand minus expenses are, that's what you get cash wise. So I'm writing the offer that way. So we're going to say not applicable. Not applicable. We're not using agents. That's going to save him some cost, which I'm already having him pay for closing costs, etc. So we won't make him pay for agents because we're nice like that, right?
I mean, if I was a licensed agent there, I'd think about it.
Yeah. So would I.
For referral, it's kind of not worth it at this point in time.
And this is a nice guy. I mean, the seller is our friend's brother, so we don't want to.
Yeah.
We definitely don't want to take advantage. And like we always say, if it's not a good deal for everyone involved, it's not a good deal. Okay, seller disclosures. Okay, so a written property condition. Okay, lead-based paint. Disclosure, commitment of title insurance. Copy of CC&Rs, if applicable. Most recent minutes, budget, financial statements. Copy of long-term lease agreements and rentals. Okay, we need that. Short-term booking schedule, not applicable. Copy of existing property management agreements, we'll need that. Evidence of water rights, notice of claims and or conditions to seller of environmental problems or building or zoning. In general, the condition, let's see, the sale, disposition of U.S. foreign investment, not applicable. A copy of all estimates received for services to upgrade, renovate, or otherwise change the property. I'm going to say profit and loss statements for 2021 and 2022. I want to see how these properties performed as part of my due diligence. So, go ahead.
Oh, no, I said for sure.
So we're going to say this is always, guys, always as investors, you are just gambling if you do not put is here. The buyer's obligation to purchase the property is conditioned on the buyer's due diligence. Okay, so this gives me the following reasons to back out, right? The seller disclosures, any other tests, evaluations, verifications of the property deemed necessary or appropriate by the buyer, such as the physical condition of the property, the existence of hazardous substances, environmental issues or geologic conditions, the square footage or acreage of the land or improvements, the conditions of the roof, walls, foundation, condition of plumbing, electrical, mechanical, heating, air conditioning systems and fixtures, the conditions of all appliances, the costs and availability of homeowners insurance and flood insurance, if applicable, water source, availability and quality, the location of property lines, regulatory use and restrictions, violations, fees for service such as HOA dues, municipal services, utility costs, convicted sex offenders residing in proximity to the property, and any other matters deemed material to the buyer in making the decision to purchase the property. Basically, that right there says that I can back out for any reason. So I'm always going to say is here. Because that I could be like, hey, when I walked through it, it smelled like pickle juice, so I'm not buying your property, right? Like, it smelled like a Subway, right? Like, I don't want to do it. I can back out for any reason. Your carpet's pink, I don't want it, right? So that gives me, by putting is there, I can back out for any reason, and then I can come here to appraisal condition, and I could say, you know what? I don't care what it appraises for, because I have other reasons I can back out up here. This makes my contract appear a little stronger. Also down here, financing, we are going to say is because we are waiting for the previous owner, not this seller, but the previous seller, to approve the transfer, the assumption of the seller financing note. Okay. Okay, we're gonna put $0 here. Additional earnest money. We already referenced that up here. So additional earnest money, remember, was 0. So we're just gonna stay consistent in 8.4 with $0 additional earnest money. Okay, so $0 there. Additional earnest money deposit. We're gonna say shall not. I'll put cap. $0. Addenda. Oop. Fat fingers. There are addenda. So we're going to put addendums on this REPC. And that's part of, we're going to kind of clarify some of the terms of the seller financing, but there is at least a seller finance addendum that we are going to be filling out. So we're going to call that addendum number 1.
Question, Mitch.
Yeah.
Up in 8.4, where it says should not be delivered to buyer's broker, would that be, instead of buyer's broker, maybe you just say title company?
Title company?
Well, where you have buyers shall not deliver to the buyer's broker because you don't have a buyer's broker, right?
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Good catch. I like it. Okay. Other addenda. We're going to put TBD here, to be determined. Home warranty.
Yes. Always.
Yeah?
Yes.
We're making him pay for it.
Yep.
You want to order it?
Yeah, that's fine.
How much? 500?
Yeah. Yeah.
Seller. Okay. Okay, we can skip all this stuff. Mediation. I always like to put shall here because court is expensive. So if there's a dispute and they want to sue me, it's going to cost me money to defend myself, whereas mediation usually is free and provided by the state. So, and most disputes I've been able to handle before it ever got to court. So I like to put shall. I'm a pretty reasonable guy. You know, we're not out to get anybody. So if someone's feeling taken advantage of, that's not our goal. I think we can talk through it. So I would prefer to have a conversation in mediation before we go to full-on court battle. Okay. All right, time for the deadlines. Here we go. Okay, seller disclosure deadline. Let's put 48, fat fingers, 48 hours after acceptance of REPC. Due diligence deadline. You want 10 or 4? Let's do 14 days mainly because it's out of state. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. I also need time to kind of help him on his side, so.
Okay. Financing and appraisal deadline. So, we'll do 15 days.
Okay. Just make sure it doesn't land on a.
Let's just do four. It can be the same day.
Wait a second.
Settlement deadline 15 days. Okay.
Trying to find the parcel number has been almost impossible. I don't understand what is going on here. Give me this stupid parcel number. Nevada.
Oh, this has your signature on it already, so I'm going to change the buyer to Millionaire. Is that okay? Or can we not do that because of...
Yeah, I would say that's why I had you do it in the first place.
Okay, because you're an agent. All right, so I'll just take this off and I'll replace it with my signature. Okay. So we'll probably submit this tomorrow morning. So let's give him, that's the 9th, 10th, 11. So 5 p.m.
Yep. Tomorrow?
You want to do tomorrow or you want to give him till Friday?
Friday's fine. I was just wondering. I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, so March 10,
I don't like to give more than 2 days, though.
2023. Anybody have any questions? We basically just filled out the whole Repsy.
I have a question. So on that, if he has till Friday, is there a contingency on this seller getting the approval for the assumption of the seller finance? Is that going to be an issue that he has to have more time on?
There is. So we actually, normally I would make financing condition is not. But because we're assuming his seller financing, which is kind of unique, I've never really done that before. I am making that conditioned here in in the financing condition. So, and I'll probably clarify that in an addendum.
Yeah. Anything that is different or not usual on a traditional contract, that's what you would move over to also the addendum, just so that when they pull it up and in the email that we send them, it'll point out like the key factors that are like, oh, so contingent that you obviously get approval from the current owner, right? Contingent that we actually find your parcel number, because that's going to be a thing. Because I can't find it to save my life. But right, so just understanding that you can actually leave like the parcel blank until I talk to title, and they'll just put it on there for me. Like it's not a big deal when they get the contract. But anyway.
So title's actually going to be structuring this note for us.
Yeah.
I think is Tyler still on the call? We were talking about this earlier today, Tyler. You still there? He may have dropped off. But Tyler and I were actually talking about this earlier today. We met at one of our flips and we're talking about how you can actually have title basically write the note for you. They usually have an attorney on staff. They usually have like pre-written notes. And so, basically we just need all the terms in place on the contract. So, did that answer your question, Dave, by the way?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't know if that was going to be an issue down there under your time, deadlines.
And luckily, right, as we're writing these, keep in mind that you're going to want to stay in communication with whoever you're trying to get under contract with, right? So let's say, all of a sudden on my side, I'm trying to get a inspector out there, but it's 2 weeks before I can even get an inspector out there. I don't know the availability in this location. Here, I know I can get an inspector out there tomorrow, but I don't know the situation in Ely. So, right, being in communication is helpful. And so when we're talking to him, it's like, hey, if you need more time, that's fine. We're doing another addendum, right? I've actually gone up to the highest amount of addendums that I've done on a contract now today is like 41. I don't recommend it, and it's absolutely terrible.
That's ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's not fair to anyone. Nevertheless, that's what it takes to sometimes get deals done. So don't. It was funny. Jared Brunchley and I were in a battle at one point trying to figure out who had the most addendums on a contract. I won. That's right. I won. Not
Nice.
because I wanted to, but just the situation. And that's it, right? So recognize that you can, if both parties need an extension for whatever reason to like make the deal happen, why would we not just stay in contract? Why would we not just keep pushing those deadlines back? If everyone's still happy with the conditions, it's just we're waiting on certain things, right? You see that a lot in commercial properties, pushing out months and months just because certain things just don't happen as planned. But usually you can push out a contract, something like this for at least 2 weeks if you need to. You're welcome, Nicholas. Love you.
Bye, guys. Thanks. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, you
Yep.
too.
Thanks, Mitch. Yep.
Okay, so now we're filling out the seller finance addendum. So this is kind of the, the rep C is important. You can't have the seller finance addendum without the rep C, but this is kind of the more important document. So we have to reference, so this little heading, we have to reference everything that we put in the previous on the rep C, right? So that they can match up. If this ever went to like court or anything, they can match up and be like, no, this is talking about the same document, right? So what's the property address? 215 Ely Avenue, City of Ely, White Pine County, State, Nevada. We find a zip code.
Yeah, I had the zip code before. We'll pull it up. I'm not on the screen. It is
89.
301. Good job.
Eight nine three zero one, right? We have that. Does that match here? Okay. Did we ever find the tax ID, Maylee?
Nope. Still searching.
All right. We don't know what she's going to want. So, you know what? This is interesting. So I'd like some of your guys' opinions, especially those of you who've done seller finance before. So he's not actually extending the seller finance. So I'm wondering if we should just do an addendum that says that purchase is conditioned upon transfer of existing seller finance loan. That might be easier.
Yeah, totally. I like that.
So I think in this case, I mean, this is a unique case, but we're not actually getting seller financing from the current owner. We're getting seller financing from the previous owner.
Right.
And basically, the way we're structuring it is nothing changes for her. So yeah, I think let's just abandon this seller financing addendum in this case. What do you guys think? You guys have any opinions on that?
Have you seen the agreement that he has with her?
Not yet. Not yet, but we have talked about it verbally. 4.25%. That's pretty awesome in this market. And I believe he owes like $162,000.
So the 80 grand is his equity that he has.
Yep.
So are you actually assuming the existing note?
Mm-hmm.
And will you be on the note then as the buyer?
I will
Or
be
the
on the note as the
debtor?
buyer. Yes.
So that has to be changed from the existing financing.
Mm.
Between buyer, Mitch.
Or you just want to be added on, wouldn't you?
Say that again, Tim.
Wouldn't you just want to be added on as a able to get so you can get it? Well, she's the financier, so never mind.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's-
there's going to be more negotiation that's going to have to happen here, but we want to put this under contract as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And basically, what I want to say in this is that the purchase is conditioned upon us assuming his seller financing loan with current terms
As approved.
intact.
Does Craig want to be off the note then and not liable?
He does, yes, he does want to be off the note.
No.
You have to put Craig's last name in.
Oh yeah, it's just Craig. That's a good call.
It is Ely.
That's funny. What was the zip? 84301 or 89301. 89301. Okay.
Is that a song?
Eight six seven five three zero nine. Oh, we're gonna get a copyright strike on YouTube.
Oh no.
Condition upon the following. Okay. So, actually, let's do a numbered list. Okay, so number 1. Let me know if you guys have any opinions on my wording. So Mealy, assumption of current seller finance note with current terms intact. What else do we want to make sure?
Approval of the original.
I wasn't listening. Say that again. Sorry.
We want to clarify.
Kind of a stagnant call tonight. So much busy work.
Okay, can you guys think of anything else?
Don't you need to have something in writing from the original? I mean, the lady that owns or that own the original.
So she will
contract?
have to. So this is kind of a funky scenario. So I mean, I don't know if this will help, but basically, what's going to have to happen? It'll be 2 layers. So, and it'll almost feel like a double close for some of you that have maybe done that. So what's going to happen is currently he owns it, right? And he has the seller finance in place. He wants to be removed from that So we're almost having to do a double close where once we have all the contact details and all the information, then right then and there we'll go to contract with the new home or with the original buyer or seller. So it will be interesting because currently we're buying it from, you know, Craig, because that's all we have, and he wants his money, end of story, to sell this to us. So originally how we had this set up was a sandwich. So that makes more sense on how the information we know. It makes more sense that that's why we only have this information, is because it was a sandwich up until this morning. So originally it was that he was going to actually stay in place and we were going to seller finance it. Kind of weird, right? But we do this often enough that it's like, oh yeah, no big deal. So basically he was going to capture the difference on interest, right? So he was at 4.25% interest, so he's hoping to go to 5.25 interest rate, capture the difference, to keep the seller finance in place, and then only need $50,000 down. That's originally why it was $50,000. And then he was like, you know, then this morning he goes, just kidding. I hope you guys didn't go too far. And it's a good thing we didn't write up the contract already, because we would have already. We didn't. We got busy. So he's like, my wife actually just wants out of this. So if we're going to do this, we want you to go, you know, back. We would want to just kind of sell you the property. We want our equity out, and we'll be done. And we're like, okay, but then we're going to need approval from your, you know, your current seller that they're willing to transfer the seller finance terms and everything over to us. Like, we'll need to have that communication. We'll need to have that conversation with her. And he said, absolutely, that makes sense. So we left with homework. The homework for both of us was we were going to get him an offer, a Rev C, to go to contract, so that we were, you know, so he saw the terms, he saw everything, and then from there, his homework was to reach out to the current owner, bank, and you know, schedule a three-way call essentially with us, so that we can talk about what the new ownership would look like and the new contract.
So if she was being difficult, she could hypothetically say, I want 40,000 out of that 80, Mr. Craig.
Yep.
But
I mean,
from
not
our
really,
standpoint,
because
that would be his problem, not ours.
You know, of course.
And it could
but
kill the deal.
You would have the ability to do that.
Yeah, and it could kill the deal.
It depends, because for instance, like on most of our notes, on our seller finance terms, then what we want is what we want. And if we put in there that, you know, so depending on what their balloon is, if for some reason it says that if you sell this property, right, because I'm creating seller finance terms for clients right now where we have contingencies on there that says that if you sell your property before the balloon is up, which is 25 years or whatever, then you're hit with a huge fine, a huge fee, right, of thousands of dollars. Some of them are 20,000, some of them are 60,000, some of them are a percentage. So I think personally that, you know, because it's a small town, it's maybe they don't even have a clue. I'm shocked they even knew, like, ooh, this is smart, good job, you know. But yeah, I'm curious to see the contract. So really all of this could be 100% void, which is why we put on there contingent upon, right? Because really we're just kind of shooting in the dark right here. But is it worth it? Yeah. This could be all for naught. It could be all for naught, and it could be something where she comes back and goes, I'm not going to do this again. This was a terrible deal for me. I can't imagine why she would say that. She's cash flowing $800 a month, you know, doing nothing and not responsible for anything. That's dope, right? But she could totally come back and be like, no, I don't want to do it again.
Can I make a question or a comment?
Yeah, please.
So if Craig wants out of this thing, I could see the seller saying, okay, that's going to require that we create a new note and a trust deed with you guys as the, you know, as the buyer and owing that amount. But then that gets him out of the deal entirely. So there would be some kind of, you know, the title company creating something that would release him, assuming that there is a trust deed with his name on it, referring back to a note that he owes. So I could just see, to clean it all up, a new trustee to note that you guys would sign.
Which is fine. If that's how they want to do it, that's not a problem. As long as the current terms stay intact, right? Because this is a sweetheart deal because of his current rate and payment.
Right.
And we
I
only
could
have to
see the
bring 80
owner.
grand to the table to make
Yeah.
1,500
I
a
could
month.
see I could see that note holder coming back and saying, I'll do it, but I want X amount of money for cooperating, a couple of grand
Yeah.
or something like that.
Sure. It's a possibility. It's a possibility, and that could kill the deal, So,
Yep. Fun exercise.
Yeah. And so do you have any more on that real quick, babe? I know you're gonna smile and dial. So I'm able to do that.
except we're out of time.
I know. So because I did promise that to people on our, thing here. Oh, I got a comment. Let's see, what does this say? That's what I was thinking. Oh, good. Let's see, item 3. Should it be fees paid for buyer and seller?
Oh,
Ooh,
see, I
nice
always,
catch.
for some reason, I always switch these around in my head, buyer and seller.
Yep, good job.
Item 3.
Yeah.
Item 3. Yep.
I think we need a field trip.
Let's do it. I love it.
Let's go.
We can
to
do our
Lone
next
Oak
call with a
Ely.
live audience. I love it. Guys, is there anything else that you're seeing? I mean, we've got some seasoned investors on the call. Is there anything else that you're seeing that I'm missing?
Let me look at it.
I mean, this is ambiguous. This is specific, but ambiguous enough that we can negotiate. If she wants a new note and deed, we can do that. I'm fine with that as long as the terms stay the same.
Right.
So this is off topic, but they had said that they did a renovation in 1970.
Yep.
Was that to configure the home into its current triplex
Yeah.
condition?
Yep.
So you would make the assumption then that the wiring and plumbing were all updated at that point in time.
Right.
I mean, I had a 1916 ironically home, and it originally was post and wire.
It's terrible. Yeah, no. Any home that's, older than 1960s, we're re-roping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where and that's what's nice about this is, guys, we're going to go under contract with this, and then that's really when we're going to dive in. This is really just our first glance. We can come back and change. This is addendum number 1. Okay, well, if he comes back and is like, well, they actually want this, or they, whatever, fine. Like, we'll change it. Addendum 2, like, this is kind of a first glance. In fact, most of the time, he wanted a Rev C, which is why we're doing this. But really, at first glance, I even typically go way less. Like, I do super broad stroke on these, and I'll just do a letter of intent, right? And then have them sign it, being like, hey, so if we can agree to these terms, we're good. Have them sign it, kick it back, and now we're under contract. Because you can do that as investors, right? You totally can do that. You do not have to have a formal Rev C just to go through due diligence. Maybe don't waste your time. On something like this, sure, why not? This seems very easy, straightforward. This guy is being super easy to work with, right? He's not trying to cause a bunch of problems or stir up issues with like a bank, because that could be an issue, right? Like if we're trying to do something that's seller financed, and now it's like, oh no, don't notify the bank, and we're trying to step on toes, things like that. We're not, right? We don't have to worry about any of those things. So that's why obviously having a Rep-C is fine, and it's not a big deal, but sometimes it's just as easy to do and you can blast those out a lot faster, right? Like if you're, I just talked to my TC today, and I'm like, okay, get ready, because we're going to be making 30 offers in the next 3 weeks. And she's like, oh, okay, 1 a day. And I'm like, yep, 1 a day. We're making an offer 1 a day. Like, that's what we're doing. But I told her, let's just do a letter of intent. That way we're not going through all the process of doing all the due diligence. Let's just do a letter of intent, give them an idea of what we're thinking. That way they can kick us back with something that maybe they're thinking a little bit better, come down to terms, then write up the Rep-C. If that makes sense.
Love it. I want to hear from Julie. Julie, you're an agent. What do you think about this addendum that my non-agenty brain came up with?
Well, I'm actually driving right now, so
Okay.
I'm gonna have to pull over. I'm on my way to pick up my daughter from gymnastics.
Nice.
So
Very
to
cool.
read it. But I did have a question.
Yeah.
You guys are doing seller financing from another seller financing from someone who owns it outright, but are you doing seller financing from people who still have loans from banks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how are those going? I had a couple seller financing that I had put offers on, and it kind of ended up that the banks were like, no.
Don't involve
Really?
the banks.
What type of?
Well, and that's what I had heard. I know the one group that I had put the seller financing offer on, they talked to their bank specifically, and I was like, oh, I heard you're not supposed to do that. And their bank did come back and say, yeah, we're not going to do that. We don't want to do it. So anyways, when you're putting in offers on with people who still have loans, how are you formulating those?
So that's a strategy called subject to or sub to, which is both are short for subject to the existing financing staying in place. Really, technically, what the offer we just wrote, there's just not a static addendum for how we're structuring this deal. This is a subject to, right? Because this is subject to the existing financing taking in place. This is more of an assumption than a subject to, actually. But with a subject to where the previous mortgage company is going to stay in place, here is the distinction, Julie. It is usually against bank policy. It's usually against against the terms of the mortgage. However, it is not against the law. A subject to transaction is perfectly legal. A title company can close a subject to transaction. The bank, here's the thing about this, is one of those, it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. I have witnessed or been a part of hundreds of subject to transactions, whether it's myself, something that me and Maylee are doing, or something that one of our students is doing that we're helping with. I have yet to see in 10 years, I have yet to see or hear of the bank calling a note due. I've heard like legends, or like, somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody whose note was called due because of a subject to transaction. But I've never actually seen it done or witnessed it first or second hand. So here's the philosophy. If you call up and ask just the guy answering the phone at the bank, he's going to tell you what the bank's official stance on it. But the unofficial stance of the banks have billions of dollars that they're lending. If they wanted to own real estate, they would go buy real estate with their billions of dollars. They don't want to own real estate. They want to extend loans and they want to collect payments. That's their business model. If, as a buyer of a subject to transaction, you can maintain payments on time and stay current on your loan, that's what the bank wants. They're not going to rock the boat. They don't want to own your real estate. If you're doing what they want, they're going to be just fine with it. Now, with that said, you should always consult an attorney, and usually a title company has an attorney on staff. So, in my opinion, that would suffice. But you should always consult legal counsel when entering into that kind of transaction, because every deal is subjective. But that's my stance. Does that answer your question, Julie?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. And I would even say that you'd probably still be okay where they called the bank and talked to someone in the call center who just quoted the bank's policies. I'd say you're probably still okay to do those transactions. I doubt there was, I doubt the CEO was informed,
Right.
I doubt that went too far up the chain. So,
Okay.
now don't, that's not legal advice coming from me, but I would, if it were me, I would still try to pursue that transaction, even if the seller kind of messed up a little bit.
Well, and I was just wondering how you give the seller a little bit more confidence. I mean, maybe tell them to consult an attorney.
Yeah, or have them
Yeah.
talk to the title company. You know, pick a title company. I mean, obviously, probably REI, right?
Right.
So, you know, have them talk to Jeff or Whitney.
Okay. Yeah, that's great advice. Thanks,
Yeah.
Mitch.
And then they can be. Look, here's the thing. Anytime you have a seller that you're trying to negotiate seller financing or subject to with, the real remedy to all of their fears is education. You just need to plan on taking some time to educate the uneducated party.
Yeah. And I will say too, working with a lot of the different loans. So FHA and VA, I would say stay clear from. And if they was an FHA, then I would be like, ooh, I would say just don't even bother. There are workarounds, and you could do like a lease option and then change it in like 6 months so that it's actually a seller finance or a subject to. But anyway, so there's workarounds that could be noted that you could still do. So even if you are coming up a weird, like, oh, they don't allow, seller finance deals, it's like, okay, we'll change the name of it then. Now it's a lease option. So it's just how you
Or a
are
contract for
writing it
deed.
out. Or a contract, See, there's like 4 different ways that you can write up the contract with different verbiage that means something different. It does. But at the end of the day, are we still getting what we want for it? Probably. Right? And then, and we can always change it later or whatever it might be. But I would say on traditional loans, most loans actually say that seller financing is 100% legal, like most loans. So I would be interested to see what bank that was and hear a little bit more about that, because it could have been just some random person that didn't understand it either, right? That was on the phone.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good advice and good food for thought for sure. Thank you.
You got it. Guys, that's all the time we have today. We're going to wrap up here. Great questions. I feel like that was, I kind of figured out some stuff along the way. So hopefully you guys learn some stuff here. You loved it, Michael? Good. I'm glad. That's why we do this, is because we want to share these experiences with you guys. Every deal is subjective, and this is one that we're going to have to get really creative on how we put this together. So we wanted you guys to be a part of that. Hopefully it was educational. Guys, next week we are going to come back and we are going to talk about, what was it that you just announced, Maylee?
So
what are we talking about next week?
What was that?
Vortex Property Lead Gen.
Yep. So
And
I'm
we'll
going to
probably-
talk about Vortex, and I do have the guy, like he's the guy to really get in front of. I'm just gonna do a little spiel on. I've done a lot of research on FSBOs, rent FSBOs. If you're a real estate agent, which we have a couple on here. There's like 3 on here, actually 4 on here. So it's great to get leads on the MLS, for instance. They're like, oh, they just expired. Perfect. Now I'll go call them. What's the problem when you go to try and call them? There's no phone number for the homeowner. Right? You can call the listing agent, but they're like, don't talk to my client. Like they get all kinds of tiffy. I have, right? I've still made that call, but an easier route is to let someone else skip trace those numbers based on the address. And so people have been with us for a long time. Dave Cokerhans knows we used to use all sorts of different smiling dialing companies to vet these numbers and to do a lot of that footwork for us. But so far I've been really happy with with Vortex and their process. And then it's also a CRM, so you can keep track of people, when to call them back. And so there's lots of options. It's not necessarily super cheap, but if you use the link that I'll give you next week, you're going to get a 14-day trial that you're not going to have to pay for. So really take advantage of those 14 days. I will have scripts for you. They actually have some scripts for you within the program. So anyway, I'm super excited about it, because not only as an investor, right, we're going to be able to pick up some great seller finance deals, but also as an agent, we need those leads as far as expired listings all day long. Like we need that. So let's help each other obtain those. We didn't smile and dial. So this is my offer to you, is I promised you I would. So if you're like, but I really wanted to watch you smile and dial, because that's fun. Honestly, watch me make a fool of myself. It's always fun, and close down some deals. So this next week, if you would like to be a part of, we're going to do Smiling and Dialing on Wednesday during the day. So if you want to be a part of that, I'm going to actually do just a Zoom call where that's all we're doing. People can submit properties that they want to call, and then we can just do some Smiling and Dialing together as a team. So if that's something that you'd like to be a part of, reach out to me or Mitch and let us know. Okay?
Okay,
Bye.
guys.
Love you.
We are past time, but that's what we're going to be doing next week. We'd love to have you there. In the meantime, thanks for being here. We're here every Wednesday. If you want to catch the recording of this call, it's going to be available immediately on YouTube. Just go to Flipping with Mitch and Maley, our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Then click on that live link. You can be able to watch this right away. And we will be back next week at 7 p.m. Smiling and dialing and going through some leads, some seller finance leads. So, guys, thanks so much for being here. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay happy. Stay healthy. Get out and do some real estate. I love you all.